Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Cigar Talk, and of course, they're gonna give me a call now. But anyway, I'm gonna hang up here. Give me a second here. I should have turned that down. Give me 1 second. I got one thing I need to do, family. Give me 1 second. Okay. Up in the room today. Supposed to be getting a call back from a company that took 5 hours, but anyway, we're gonna leave that where it is. Okay. But let's get into the discussion. Let's talk about these stocks. So let's go ahead and do something. All right. So first and foremost, tonight we're going to be enjoying a Perdomo knock stick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this particular one here. Okay. Really light flavored, creamy. That smells really light. And of course, tonight I'm gonna do a hole punch, a really large gauge hole punch. Okay, let's get this started. Yes, indeedy. And tonight I'm actually gonna pair it up with some iced tea. This is iced tea for the YouTube algorithm. You know, that iced tea tastes like rum. Like Black Whale Jamaican rum. That's what it tastes like, but it's iced tea. Anyway, go ahead and burn the edges here, roll it, and give it a good head, 45-degree angle. Again, this is the Perdomo knock stick. We're going to enjoy this today. Oh, yeah. That's really smooth. But anyway, let's get into the discussion today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about AMC. We're going to talk about GameStop, and we're also going to be talking about Ford and some others. Well, those three stocks mainly. So anyway, as you notice, AMC, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people have been playing around with the stock, and there is money to be made. There is money to be made, but let's look at the timeline here. So over the course of 5 years, AMC has been up 73%. Now, back in 2017, it's probably his most profitable year, 2016, rather, at $35 a share. And ever since this stock has been manipulated, you notice that it's been toyed with for these past couple of months, and a lot of people are making a lot of money. So we go 1 year, you see the same timeline the past 3 months. You see a little difference here in the past month. This is where you see the most volatility in this particular stock, okay? So, I mean, essentially, I know I told you guys to stay away from this stock right here. I said, stay away from this stock because if you're not going to watch it every day, you won't be able to make any money, right? And I'm sticking with that word because if you continue to play with this stock, then this stock is absolutely going to make you lose money. Because here's the thing. When I was looking at this stock and I was comparing it to, what stock I was comparing it to? Bear with me. But I was comparing it to another stock. Oh, I was comparing it to AMD. AMD is more valuable than AMC. But AMC, since it's getting short squeezed, there's a lot of things that you can do in order to make money with that particular stock. One of the key things on my last stock review that I showed you guys is that the amount of volume that AMC has versus AMD. Now, both CEOs of both organizations did something very similar. Now, I misspoke when I said that the CEO of AMC sold off 1.4 million. It wasn't 1.4 million. I think it was around 300,000 shares. But they didn't sell it. They disposed of the stock, okay? They disposed of the stock. They didn't sell that particular stock. But anytime you dispose of the stock, what are you trying to do? You're trying to increase the scarcity of that stock in order to make the stock more valuable. Because the CEO didn't get rid of that stock. You go to stock. They didn't dispose of all of their stock. See, there's a huge difference between sale and dispose of when you're using the SC Form 4. And these are other indicators that you guys can be looking at to determine if you want to invest in a stock or not. Now, when a CEO sells what? I think Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, she sold off roughly, I'm going to say 200,000 shares, okay? And she has over 1 million shares still. Why did she do that? Well, if you dispose of the stock, period, you decrease the total volume of a stock. When you dispose of a stock, you decrease the total volume of a stock. Does that make sense? Those shares don't come back. But when you sell your shares, that volume increases, which lowers the price of AMD. So what they do this for is when they sell their shares, they make a little bit of money off the profit, okay? When they sell their shares, they're waiting for the stock to become more valuable. And as they have the indicators and analysis of that stock becoming more valuable, boom, they buy their shares back. This is very important. They're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing with GameStop. They're doing the same thing with AMC. But the difference with AMC, once again, is that they are disposing of the stocks, thus increasing the scarcity, which make the stock more valuable. Don't forget, I told you guys that AMC around the world has closed over 1,000 brick and mortar stores. Okay, over 1,000 brick and mortar stores. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free. I'll answer any question. It doesn't matter if it's financial related or not. Any questions you have, I'll answer, okay? Ask me anything. But that's the stock we're looking at, okay? All right, so let's look at another stock. Let's look at another stock. Let's look at GameStop. I just wanted to break that down for you guys very quickly. But we're gonna go over to GameStop. I know a lot of you are not going to touch this. See, I already know that you guys are not going to touch GameStop. GameStop is at 237, and you notice the most action that's happening with GameStop has been when? In the past year. Okay? And this is essentially over the past 5 years, GameStop has been up 738%. In the past year, it's been up 5,000%. So the same rule applies, okay? The same rule applies. Would it be with this stock or with AMC? These stocks are being short squeezed and manipulated, but can you make money? Yes, you can make a lot of money, but it's very, very risky. You have to know when to go in. You have to know when to go out. You not really timing the market. You are watching the market very, very closely. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you have the patience? Do you have the time? Do you have the analytical skills and fact finding and looking at all the research and data is when to sell in and sell out? And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna be a day trader. In order for you to be a day trader, you need an account with over $25,000. I've been a day trader off and on because being a day trader, you really have to know how to hide your taxes, essentially. Find those loopholes in your taxes, find those gray areas in your taxes. Because if you don't, I can tell you right now, you're going to be paying a lot in taxes, okay? You're going to be paying a lot in taxes. But GameStop, again, be very, very careful, okay? Be very, very careful for you guys that are just tuning in. I am enjoying a little Havana Perdomo knock stick, creamy flavor. And for the YouTube algorithm, this is iced tea, but it tastes like Black Whale Jamaican rum. Kind of tastes like the rum when I went to Jamaica. I picked up a bottle, but this is iced tea. But yeah, family, you guys can ask me anything here. We're just having a candid conversation. Talk to your uncle, talk to your brother, talk to your nephew, whatever you want. Ask me any questions that you have, whether it be financial or non-financial. But I'm going to carry on. Last but not least, when it comes to stock tips, we're going to talk about Ford. Now, this is the one I would tell you with the financial information that I have that me personally, this is a good buy, okay? So let me set this up very quickly. I'm trying out a new layout. You see, I'm trying out a new layout for my cigar talks. Still working on it. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and show you guys Ford. I know a lot of people bought Ford when it was high, and then it dropped down. Ford dropped down under, was it $16? But it was past $16. I know you guys are not familiar with that. So we're looking at this, right? So Ford, if you look right here, Ford got up to $16. But I told people to buy when it was around, I want to say around $5, $6. First I said, let me be truthful. First I said, hey, listen, don't deal with Ford because Ford is not making any innovations to make their stock worthwhile. Then Ford said, hey, Ross, we hear you. So we made the all new, all electric Ford F-150. And I've been watching reviews on this truck. I used to have a Dodge Ram. And let me tell you, I'm really impressed with this Ford F-150. What was it? Lightning. That's the call. Ford F-150 Lightning. That's the name of it. All electric. It's a really functional, technological truck. And I think that it's the cheapest you can get it at the base model. I want to say is around 45, but I mean, most likely you're not paying no less than 50 grand. But let me tell you, out of all the electric vehicles I see, and for a Ford F-150, you need a truck and you like electric vehicles, you like technology, and then there you go. I'm just saying. But there's a lot of information that you guys need to be absolutely looking at when you are essentially trying to figure out what stocks to buy. I know a lot of you want to buy stocks, okay? You want to invest in stocks that are very, very popular. Now, take this with a grain of salt. That can get you burned. I've been showing you guys what I've been doing. Matter of fact, let me show you something very quickly here. Let me show you this, okay? I'm going to go to my portfolio, which is absolutely down. Here's one of my option calls. Now, one of the things you need to take notice of, family, is that this option doesn't expire till May 2022. So I have a lot of time to make money on this one, okay? Now let me show you this. I just sold the same option. I just sold the same option. Let me see my history. Give me a second. Let me go to my history. Is Robinhood going to show it today? No. So I just sold this option for a profit, and I took that profit. It wasn't that much. If you can look at my ending balance over here, let me go back up. I know I'm all over the place. Bear with me. Okay. So right now, if I was to go inside one of these stocks, I'll show you what I'm talking about. My spending power is at $93.98. So I made a profit all of just manipulating and playing with that particular call option. See, a lot of you guys, sorry, I got to enjoy the cigar too. It's a cigar talk. But anyway, a lot of you guys are not into options, and Options are very, very valuable because you can do a long-term option and you can just hold out. Like right now, I'm holding out on a long-term option because I have so much time to recoup any lost profits that I essentially would have made if it would have been a shorter call option. A lot of you, I got it. You don't understand options, whether it be a call option or a put option, a long option or a short option. And Robinhood, they have this new tool that they're using, okay, for option buying. Let me go back and let me go to this option that essentially looks like it's $234 now. But they have this profit tool that kind of shows you. But the one thing that you need to go over and understand are the Greeks, okay? And one of the major Greeks that you can absolutely learn is the theta, okay? Now, every investor have their one particular Greek that they like the most, okay? They have one particular Greek that they like the most, but it really depends on what is a great indicator for you. You should essentially learn all the Greeks. My thing before you get into option trading, most people get into option trading prior to understanding option trading, because a lot of people say, well, Ross, why don't you do covered options? And I've said this before. A lot of times you can be covered so much that you're losing more than you're protecting. You can be losing more money than you're protecting when you're doing call options. I see we got Jay into the room tonight. He said, get a full body cigar, bro. This is a hell. Tonight is a light body, man. Tonight is a light body with the Perdomo knock stick. I mean, I have a whole, look at this over here, family. I got a whole 300 humidor over here. He's talking about, look at this. What are you talking about? I got a whole 300 cigar humidor. Believe me, I got some full body ones, but you don't want your boy to be on here lightheaded trying to talk about stocks and shit. Like, I be damn near asleep trying to talk about stock. He talking about get a full body cigar. But anyway, guys, you guys can ask me anything. I'm just sitting here. We're going to have a good time. Any questions you have about any stocks, any non-financial things. By the way, I just made a new purchase. And it's not the best purchase because we know that cars are assets. Cars are liabilities, not assets. But I added a new car to the family. Let me show you. I added a new car to the family, and I'm not gonna lie, I stayed pretty much loyal to the brand. So let me show you. Let me see if I can show this big. Let me get this out of here. So here's the new car that I bought. It's white. My other car, was black. So that's the new car that I bought. It's a beauty. Was it a good investment? Absolutely not. It was not a good investment, but did I want to buy it? My fiance said, babe, I'll take this car. You go buy that car. I said, okay. All right. So that's the thing about vehicles. They're not good investments unless you're going to really do something for it. And so now what I have in the driveway are these two beauties right here, white and black. Okay. So that was a new purchase that I have, but let's move on. I've been getting a lot of flack lately. I've been getting a lot of flack from one of a guy. He saw one of my videos about Native Americans and how I was speaking about how Native Americans essentially just sit on reservations and don't do nothing to get paid a check. And I've been trying to get him on the platform. I said, hey, man, we can have a discussion instead of you going back and forth on comments. And see, he has his own YouTube channel too, but he never shows his face, right? But he's essentially talking about all these things. And I told him, hey, you're making all these comments. This dude damn near wrote a dissertation about how Native Americans have set up organizations to fight against the federal government for them to get money, and how blacks have received $5 billion in reparations. And what he doesn't understand is that the first form of reparation that Black American descendant of slaves are owed not asking for, not need. Well, we definitely need it. But what is owed to us are direct cash payments. That's the first form. Stop trying to give boys in the hood bikes. Stop trying to build, we need community centers. We need all of those things, but the first thing that they can do is give us direct cash payments. That's the very first thing that they can do. Okay? That's the very first thing that they can do. Now, all of these other, let me tell you something. Let me tell you some of the trick bags that the federal government bring to the Black American community. Okay, the Black American community. And let me say this as a disnomer. Let me say this very, very quickly. Can I say this, family? Listen, if you are a Black immigrant, meaning that your forefathers are from Africa, they was never brought over here on slave ships, or they were never the native Black Americans that were already here prior to 1619, prior to 1526. If you're not one of those two groups, you don't get reparations. If you're from the Caribbean, you don't get reparations from America. See, the Caribbean and Africa, Africa was colonized by all sorts of European countries, the French, the Dutch, the British, the Belgium. So they have all these countries and nations that they should be asking, fighting, going to court, going to International World Court in order to get reparations. Because this what happens. If you allow everybody to get part of the Black American reparations for those who are descendant of slaves from this country, it's like saying, you know what, we was going to give you $100 per person. Just for an example. We was going to give you $100 per person. Now we're going to give you $20. And then I'm hearing all these black bootlegs talking about, oh, we're going to fix this community center, and that's going to be like reparations. And then your boy Joe Biden goes to Tulsa, and I don't know who the hell invited Joe Biden to Tulsa, but he went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Talking to the survivors of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that massacre. But did he offer them any reparations for their descendants, for their lineage? No, he did not. Can I tell you some of the worst conversations I had, family? Let me get a little closer. I'm too far away. Let me get a little close up in here. Let me get a little bit closer. Got my ashtray over here. Let's have this discussion. Let's see. NASCAR all out. He says, we all over the place, guys. So stay with us. There's no direct. He says that MDIA could pull a early pre-market money. That's true. Let's see. Love says here, what's the minimum amount of income made from trading before having to file taxes? Well, it depends, though. Don't forget that when you sell your shares, that's going to be part of your essentially counted as your personal income. So if you already have a job and you sell your assets, and that's going to be increased income per year, then that's going to be added to your 1040 taxes. Okay. And again, I say, and listen to me, family, I will never come on here and say I know a lot about taxes. I do not. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax professional. Okay. I'm just giving you what I know personally. Okay. I'm just giving you what I know personally. But I think, and please stay with me, I think once you start making over, was it $25,000? I believe you start paying taxes, to answer your question. Okay. But anyway, the problem, in my opinion, with Black Americans descendant of slaves is that we tend to sell out to every other group except for ourselves. We don't have any cohesion. See, my thing is we don't need to agree on football teams. We don't need to agree on what we need to eat for dinner. But can we agree that we are owed reparations in a direct form of a check of money? Not let me give the boys in the hood bikes. Let me fix the community center. Let me increase the loan percentage for black businesses. That is not reparations. That is what the city and state should already be doing for everybody. But of course, we know it doesn't do it for us. This is how they trick us, family. They tell us, hey, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to pump $2 million, which is nothing. We're going to influx $2, $5, $10 million in the black community to build up their houses, to build up their community centers. That is what the state and county should be doing already anyway, the same way they do in other neighborhoods. That is not a form of reparations. That is what your government should be doing because you're a fucking taxpayer. That's what they should be doing already. I don't understand that. We got to stop falling for that bullshit. We're going to allocate and increase the amount of loans that we get to small. They don't say black, do they? They say minority business. They'll say, we're going to increase the loans to black businesses. And then when you read, it says what? Minority and diverse and urban businesses. That's exactly what they say. And we have to stop being fooled and not reading the fine print. Stop reading the headlines and actually read the fine print. That lift every voice plan by Joe Biden is a crock of bullshit. See, what you guys have been noticing, and I know you guys are very intelligent, you guys have been noticing how Joe Biden has been pandering still to the black community, but not giving us anything. But he's giving everybody else something. He gave the Native Americans, I hope Thomas, Oklahoma is watching. That is his channel, Thomas, Oklahoma. If you are a subscriber, this is the first time I've ever said this. Never mind. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. He's giving the Native Americans $31 billion. Now, the conversation that we had was about how Native Americans have organizations and and one thing he didn't mention, which I know, is that any reservation is essentially sovereign land. They are their own country. The one thing that I want those black deflectors, those black coons, those black Sambos to understand is that when they say, and I hear people come out on different platforms, like you guys seen Lamont's Hill new platform, the Black News Channel. He had some black dude on there essentially talking about how black American descendants of slaves shouldn't receive reparations. But no, and see, he's a black man. And I'm like, dude, who fucking paid you? Do you ever hear Native Americans get online and say, hey, we don't deserve reparations? You know what? Stop funding the reservation with federal government. You know what, Joe Biden? Under the American federal spending plan, we understand that you give reservations $2 billion every year. And this year, you're giving us another $31 billion. You know what, Joe Biden? We don't want that money. We don't deserve it. And what a lot of black people don't understand is this. All of us did not come over on slave ships. Well, they would have you believe that all the Native Americans are these Mongolian mix with, seems to be African people, but they want to seem like they're more Mongolian and Asian looking types. That's not true. There were Native Black Americans on this land prior to 1619, because when the conquistadors showed up in 1526, they said that they already saw dark-skinned people, not red-skinned people. And then you got these $5 Indians, these white people, okay, that claim themselves as Native Americans, where black people are essentially the first Native Americans. I don't want to get into that because I don't have, the proof essentially to show you the pictures, but we're just having a random conversation. Killer 187. You're right. It does look good. Sense does look good right now. Okay. And here's the thing. I always say this as a disclaimer because I don't want the Native American community to get mad at me because I have nothing against you guys. You guys are getting what you guys absolutely deserve, and you probably deserve more. Okay. And I'm going to leave it like that. But we deserve, if not the same, even more. They stole your land, but we built the fucking country. Our ancestors built this country. Our ancestors built Europe. Our ancestors built Africa. So when you go around the world, you always see some sort of Black African influence inside of art and structures. Well, they would have you to believe that all of the Native Americans are these mix of Asian and white. But again, when the conquistadors showed up in 1526 and they had 100 Africans on board, they said that there was already dark-skinned people here when they went back to Spain and Portugal. That was their report. There's already Black people there. Because here's the thing. Think about it like this. If all life derived from Africa, right? The first sign of life derived from Africa, then who do you think they crossing the Bering Straits? Who do you think were the people here in North America? I'm just telling you to think about it. I'm just telling you to think about it because that's the one thing we don't think about. Now that we fast forward a little bit and we get in really to the history of things, stop trying to side with everybody else. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're a freaking Democrat, a Republican. I don't care if your wife, your girlfriend is Asian or Hispanic or white. I don't care. The one thing that you need to understand is that you are Black first. You are Black first. When they start to divide our numbers and say, well, you really should be so strong on that because you're gay. You should be over here with us. We should be fighting for gay rights. But you're Black first. See, the biggest fight is not about rights. It's about economics. It's about economics. And the reason, again, for Financial Literacy 101 is to show and tell people not only how to invest, save, raise their credit score, get out of debt. It's to understand the history of economics in this country and also the world. And you have to know your history. You have to know your history. Because if you don't know your history, then you're damned to repeat it. Right now, there's this large movement in Africa. Okay? How the Chinese are going in and buying up the land, not renting it, not paying large sums so they can mine the minerals and natural resources. No, they are literally buying land, building military bases, building naval bases in Africa. And our brothers and sisters in Africa, the regular people, they have been stripped of their power where some of their government officials, I'm not going to name any country, but those countries know that when these Chinese people come there, they're throwing billions of dollars at them so they can occupy the continent. This is the same thing that the Europeans did when they colonized Africa. Damn near every country in Africa was colonized except Ethiopia. What people don't understand is that I like to look at the start, not the finish, because it kind of helps me to understand why are we here today? Why are the first people on the planet the most frowned upon, the criminal class, the dirtbags, the stupids, the unintelligent? Why are we being racially profiled in a world that there's more dark-skinned people than anywhere else? How do the 10% control the 90%? And we continue to get fooled and manipulated because we would rather side with what we subscribe to rather than what the fuck you are and what you look like. Your melanation is your divinity. Before you was a Democrat, you was black. Before you was married to a non-black person, you was black. Before you was gay, you was black. Before in your mama's womb, your X and Y and all your chromosomes, you were black. But we would rather sell out. You guys didn't voted all of these people into office that look like you and I, but they haven't done nothing for us. The congressional black cocksuckers, they do nothing for us. They went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and basically was dancing a jig, cutting the rug, and singing, "We shall overcome." That shit don't work. Singing "We shall overcome" don't work. And guess who's fighting for us now? Our millennial class and Generation Z, they're not playing that. They're not playing about getting beat up by race soldiers, getting beat up by KKK members with badges. They're not playing that game. They're knocking motherfuckers out on the street, and they're not playing that. And we shouldn't play that either. Especially Generation X. We're in the middle. We're in the middle. We are the sons and daughters of the baby boomers, and we're the mothers and fathers of the millennials and Generation Z. We're supposed to be the leaders. See, I made a mistake about a year ago. And I said, we need a leader. And I said, maybe it was about 2 years ago. It was about 2 or 3 years ago. I said, we need a leader. We need a leader. We need a leader. We need a leader. And I was talking about Louis Farrakhan. And don't let religion blind you. Because if you read any works of Frances Cress Welsing, she will tell you that white supremacy operates in all the activities of life, and religion is one of them. And what you need to understand is this is how we divide it. This is how we divide it. Yeah, Maddox, we were dancing when we was going voting. We had grown-ass men and women doing the electric slide. You got to move. Why the hell are we dancing? We voted and we dancing. Oh, we did massa, we didn't got that racist Donald Trump out of office. Now what? Family, now what? What are we going to do now? Listen, I've showed this plenty of times on this channel. Joe Biden went out and signed an executive order for federal protection for the Asian community, for discrimination, racism, and xenophobia. Am I against that executive order? No, I'm not against it. And if you read the executive order, it was due to 1 year of racism dealing with the coronavirus. Family, can anybody put in the chat how long Blacks have been dealing with racism and discrimination and racial profiling in this country? 1 year. Can anybody just put in the chat, how many years have we been dealing with this? How many years? But see, the Congressional Black Coon job, this organization, you would think they would be for us. But they are about sustaining, obtaining power, money, and authority while pandering to their own people so they can keep living well. See, what they do is they take the 1% of Black people and they put them on social media, they put them on news channels, and they pander to you. Why don't they get Dr. Claude Anderson on television, on major networks like they did Cardi B? Have you noticed? Listen to this shit. Thank you, Maddox. 400 plus years. 400 plus years versus a year. Now, have you guys noticed when they go and look for spokespersons from the black community, who do they get? Who do they get? They get rappers, entertainers. That's what they get. They get rappers, singers, and entertainers. Let's just say entertainers. All of them are entertainers of some sort. They get fucking entertainers. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you guys know anything about Cardi B, when she first came out, she did not admit, okay, let's just say that for less of two words. She said that she's Latina. Then all of a sudden, I'm black. I'm Spanish and black. Well, I already knew that, but it's about what you consider yourself. And see, a lot of people, when it came to Kamala Harris, we was getting into this whole battle that, her mom is Indian, her father is black, but he's from Jamaica and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ladies and gentlemen, does it matter what race she is? It could be a fucking green Martian in the White House. And as long as they give us our reparations, who fucking cares? See, that's the problem. We are sometimes we can be so colorblind. Because who voted for Obama? Raise your hand. Who voted for Obama? I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Obama twice. And what did I get? And what did you get? And what did your sick family members get? If you tell me the Affordable Health Care Act, and if you say that was reparations for black people, I would like to inform you, first and foremost, no shame, that was for everybody. It wasn't just for us. That was not just for us. So you can't count that as reparations. But when I look at the Asian and Pacific Islander initiative to boost their economics, look that up. And when I look at the Hispanic initiative to boost their economics in their communities, then this is where you need to start siding and say, you know what? Yeah, I have black friends, I have white friends, I have Asian friends, I have Hispanic friends. But when it comes down to this money shit, black first. The problem is we sell out our race. You know why we sell out our race? Because we know one or two Hispanics, we know one or two Asians, we know one or two Native Americans, we want, one or two immigrants, and they're our friends. They're our girlfriends and boyfriends and wives and husbands, and they're in our ear. You know what? But how would you guys find out who is American descendant of slaves? How would you guys find out who your ancestors are? Let me tell y'all something. Didn't they figure this shit out for the Native Americans? See, here's the thing, family. Every time a negative thought about giving us what we're owed, reparation comes up, and you have a doubt, I automatically want you to compare our struggle against the Native American struggle. I want you to automatically go through the timeline of history of all the disparities that have been happening, and that it's all been what? Economics. They talk about the Tulsa massacre, right? They talk about the Tulsa massacre, but it was about what? One of the Black Wall Streets being bombed by their own citizens, not black people either. This was a thriving community in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Greenwood that blacks were doing extremely well. We had our own banks. We had our own insurance company. We had our own hospitals and grocery stores and bus. We had our own community. Now you don't see that shit nowhere. Because every time black people have gotten together and say, hey, listen, let's pull our resources together. It's kind of like you would do a potluck. Yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and grill these ribs. I'm going to smoke these ribs. Can you do the mac and cheese? Yeah, I'm going to do the mac and cheese. Who got the greens? You got the greens. I got the biscuits. You got the biscuits. Okay, when we put it all together, we have a meal. That's the same thing we did in all of these Black Wall Streets, whether it be in Richmond, Chicago, Raleigh-Durham. There's all these places there with all these other Black Wall Streets that those people, those communities got together and pulled the small resources and built a thriving community. But you will let CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, ABC, NBC, Fox News, you will let all these major news networks that are ran by who? To deflect you from the real issues in the Black community. And see, when you guys are using terms that deflect from what we are owed, deflect from the real problems in our communities, I'm going to tell you what some Black people do. We sabotage our own talking points. First, we come out and we talk about George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Phil Castillo, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. There's been so many, right? Sandra Bland. There's been so many. I can't name them all. Excuse me. But all of those Black, beautiful people who died by hands of racism in this country. You know some of the coons out there say? You know what some of the coons out there say? They say, oh, what about Black on Black crime? Motherfucker, everybody has crime. What about white on white crime, brown on brown crime, yellow on yellow crime? Every community has crime. But with that being said, the communities who are the poorest have a higher percentage of crime. You know why? Because people are stealing and killing from each other because they don't have. And this is why a direct cash payment to those Black American descendant of slaves is owed to us for the work that our forefathers and foremothers did. The same way, and here's the argument that I always love to do, to compare and contrast. When people say a Black person, say, well, Ray, man, shit, dog. Well, none of us was really in slavery. And I say, question for you, brother. The Native Americans that are receiving checks and live on reservations for free, are in it? Are they the ancestors that lived hundreds of years ago, or are they the descendants of those ancestors? Well, oh yeah, they the descendants of those ancestors. Ding, 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 dummy. I'm not ignoring you guys. Let me look at your comments. Let's see here. Light says, how much money did cops receive in the Asian hate bill? Exactly. Investing says, this is liberal. It's important in reparations talk. Reparations are paid to nations, not people. See, I understand what you're saying. And to be truly honest, I thought about something investing. That's a really good point you made. First and foremost, let me just do this last one. The taxes were later used in World War II. Okay, cool. All right. Let's talk about this. Give me 1 second. Iced tea. HR 40 is a bill that they put out to study reparations, right? And within that study, they supposed to go out and find who are entitled to receive reparations. Libya, not liberal. My bad. But no, let me talk about it. Let me finish it though. But they supposed to have a study about slavery to see if we're supposed to get reparations. That's what HR 40 is about. But during that whole thing, they can absolutely define, the same way they did with the Native Americans, define who was supposed to receive reparations. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, on paper, our ancestors were released from slavery, were let go from slavery. I won't say slavery ended. Have you noticed I didn't say slavery ended? I'll say that we were let go from bondage. We were free. We were released from bondage of chains. 1870 had a census record. Now, is that census record going to have everybody on it? Absolutely not. But you have to go by the 1870 and the 1890 census record. Now, just like the $5 Indians, those who are not Native Americans, those $5 Native Americans who are not Native Americans, the ancestors of those Native Americans who got essentially killed off by smallpox and robbed and killed off their land. There's a lot of Native Americans today are receiving benefits from the federal government who does not have a history or trace or lineage from the time where those executioners, pilgrims, came over before they stole the land from them. So we have the documentation. We have the thing. Now, I was speaking to this other guy again on my comment section, and he was talking about we need to build an organization so we can register people in order for them to receive these reparations and go to court and this, that, and the other. And I knew the guy didn't know all the history of all the legislations we've been trying to fight essentially to receive reparations. But here's the thing. Let me tell you why reparations is important to me. It's not so much important that, we should really get these reparations. Is that every time that Black people throughout the course of history has built something for ourselves, it has been destroyed by white supremacy. And just a disclaimer in case any non-Black person is listening, are all white people racist? Are all Asian people racist? Are all non-Black people racist? No, they're not. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. Now, I don't know the percentage, but out of those so-called non-racist people, do they contribute to the system of white supremacy? That's another question. No, Maddox. For the YouTube algorithms, this is iced tea. Okay, it looks like Black Whale Jamaican rum, but it's iced tea. How sweet it is. But that's the issue I'm getting in, right? Is that we have these records out there. And here's the thing. Do you ever hear this same talking points and, let's trace back all the Native Americans and see who's supposed to receive? As long as those tribes accept, because they do blood tests. Did you know that? Native Americans, listen to this. Hold up. Native Americans, in order to be a part of whatever tribe and receive whatever benefits that the federal government is giving, they take blood tests. They take blood tests. They take blood tests. And if Native Americans that are trying to essentially sign up for those benefits, I forgot the percentage. Let's just use a weird percentage like 10%. If they are 10% Cherokee, then whatever the Cherokee Nation is getting, they are now getting those monthly stipends or whatever benefits they receive every month or every year, as long as they are a certain percentage of their blood tracing to Cherokee Native American. But here's the thing. Do you know there's a lot of Black people with Native American blood? Because essentially, I won't get into this argument, There's a lot of us that are native Black Americans to this land, to America, to the U.S. prior to 1526, when essentially the first 100 slaves was brought over by the conquistadors to essentially build this land and structures on this land. But the Native Americans, believe it or not all of them, a lot of them are racist, because when you have these African features, this dark melanated skin, and you don't have that either white or you don't have that Mongolian Asian dark look of being red, then you automatically are excluded no matter your blood percentage. The only thing you have to do is go on YouTube. The only thing you have to do is go on the internet and look at native Black Americans. Or look up Black American Indians. Do that. Look up Black American Indians and see what you get. Let me make sure I'm not going over anybody else's comments. I'm just saying. So essentially, when we talk about racism, discrimination, we have to understand this all revolves around money. It's all about money. Family, the one thing that you can do for your family is learn about money. That's the one thing you can do. Know your history, learn about money. Know your history, learn about money. And if you got any friends, co-workers, family members, associates, subscribe to Financial Literacy 101, because we're going to learn about money and we're going to learn about history of our people and how this all derived from money. And please, some of the people of books that I read, like Francis Cress Welsing, it lets you know all the different sections of human activity that white supremacy operates in. It operates in everything. You see this new push, you see the new drive to teach your children about their intersexuality, their sexuality, that, oh, it's okay for boys to play with Barbie dolls. It's okay for this, that, and the other. Listen, don't allow the public to tell you what's right and wrong for your kids. Don't abuse your kids, but don't let the public tell you what's right and wrong for your kids. Because a lot of us, right? A lot of us, we want our kids to grow up heterosexuals. I know people, parents of the LGBT community, they still want their kids to grow up heterosexuals. Here's another question. We're still in this white supremacy economical talk. Why is it that large portions of the Black community suffer from mental illness? And I'm going to go off on a limb here, and I'm going to say about 99% of us suffer from some sort of mental illness deriving from racism. Can I give you an example? Why is it that I paid my insurance, my car note is on time, I'm not speeding, I don't have a racially profiled car or truck, but every time the police get in front of me, behind me, or beside me, why is it that I'm always keeping my eye on the police? Now, some people, non-Black people, have said, well, I do that too, but not all of them. Now, a lot of them, the reason why they look at the police is for what? They got warrants, they got tickets. But your record could be absolutely 1,000% clean. You don't have any unpaid parking tickets, unpaid speeding tickets, but you are still watching that police like you're not watching the police, but you watching his ass like, oh shit, here we go. That's a form of mental illness. Why are we shook around the police? Because we see our people on TV. We see our people on social media dying by the hands of the police. And the reason, have you noticed this? You'll hear other non-Black groups say, oh, well, that occurred to us too. I said, well, why are they not televising it? Why are they not televising it like a TV show of white, Asian, Hispanic, and other people being killed in the streets by the hand of police? That is because when it occurs to them, they do not want it to be normalized. When you start to see things, atrocities, over and over and over and over and over again, it becomes normalized. So when you see it, you're like, oh, here we go. Another one of us got killed. And then you move on with your fucking day. And you know, this summer, they're hashtagging it as pull up summer because black people, young people, Generation Xers are going out there and they're pulling up on people like, hey, you killed another one of our kind. We go out there for a couple of days, for a week, so on and so forth, and then it dies down. Why is it that you don't see Asians dying on TV? You see them getting beat up because they're not trying to normalize their death. But you see us dying on TV all the time. You see how they're put together a whole documentary of us dying by the hands of the police and other race soldiers because they're normalizing to the black community for us to stop fighting. And we have all these organizations not understanding that at the end of the day, they don't want to kill all black people because you still need a criminal class. You still need a low impoverished class to do the dirty work. See, what I know is that we are living in modern day slavery. And that if you guys are not doing your due diligence and learning your history, and I mean really learning your history and how economic is like the largest part of essentially all the things that we've been through, then you're not going to understand that the con job that white supremacy is playing on our people. See, almost every cigar talk, I talk about Christianity, right? I talk about some form of religion. Why do I do that? Remember the gentleman, he came home, took off his pants, just like a man. He's just like a man. I walk around in my boxers. Got himself some ice cream. I love ice cream. I like my Ben and Jerry's. Right? A police officer goes to her, think it's her apartment, kills that black man, and in court, the family forgave her. The black judge gave her a hug. When have you ever seen that occur? When have you ever seen a black guy, a black police officer accidentally go inside of a white apartment, or go inside of a white or let's just say non-black, a non-black person's apartment thinking it was theirs, kills them, and then in court, their family forgives them? See, no matter what religion you subscribe to, it can leave you docile, nonviolent, stupid, and ignorant. See, you can't be a soldier for the race. You can't be a soldier for the cause. We can't start a rebellion or a revolution, first and foremost, when you're on your damn knees. And I'm not telling you don't believe in what you believe. I'm not saying that. What did Rick Ross say? God forgives, I don't. Let me read some of your notes here. All right, I see we got Mitch from Alaska in the room. D General says they have them in New Orleans where they celebrate Black Indians. Exactly. But again, those Black Indians don't receive any benefits from the federal government like those essentially Mongolian-looking Native Americans. See, Investment says from Libya, we choose how reparations are distributed to us here from there, like Japan did. And what they don't understand about the Native American so-called American Indians, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, is that they have their sovereign land. They have their own nation. So I understand. And I just want to mention this because I just feel as though I have to go here every now and again. A lot of us have all these different beliefs when it comes to spirituality and religion. I know people who believe in the more science. I know people who are Muslims. I know people who are Christians. I know people who are, I'm talking about black people now, who are Buddhist. I know people who like, oh, I'm not really belong to any religion. I'm just spiritual. I always ask them then, if you're all of these things, what books are you reading? More times than not, these books. And see, the problem is, family, we try to make everything black. We try to make Jesus black. We try to make Muhammad black. We're trying to make all these deities black. Why? Because we want something that we can relate to, right? Well, they said that his hair was of wool and his feet was of brass. Have anybody ever been to the Middle East? If you guys have been to the Middle East, their hair is like wool and their feet is like brass. Now, am I closer to brass or am I closer to onyx? Am I closer to brass or am I closer to onyx? Then I always ask people, where did the Bible derive from? Where did the Holy Quran derive from? Where did the Torah derive from? Where it derived from? Did it derive from an African nation or did it derive from Europe? Did it derive from an African nation or did it derive from the Middle East? Where did it derive from? See, that's the problem. We don't want money, we just want religion. We don't want money, we just want to be a Democrat. We don't want money, we just want boys in the hood to have bikes. We don't want money, we just want you to fix up the old church. That's not going to help anybody because a lot of these churches, okay, because again, I spent a lot of time. Here's the thing. Some of you guys are doctors, nurses, lawyers, businessmen and women, you're administrators, you have all these jobs, right? You're all facets of the government and the business world and all these industries, right? You have more experience in your religion than you do those jobs. But when people start to ask you those hard questions, like who wrote the Bible and why did they write the Bible? Who wrote the Quran and why did they write the Quran? See, I'm not banging, I'm not speaking negative towards any religion, but I'm asking the question. Here's the thing. I'm going to speak about the religion that I know. If you are a Christian, can I ask you a question? You can put yes or no in the chat. Is God, the God you serve, any religion, any religion, is the God you serve all powerful, all knowing, and omnipotent? And this yes or no in the chat. Is he all knowing, all powerful, all omnipotent, and the creator of everything? Is he the creator of everything, all powerful, all knowing, and omnipotent? Yes or no in the chat. Maddox says yes. Anybody else? Anybody else with a set of balls? D General says no. Anybody else? Give me one more person. Give me one more person. Yes or no in the chat. Is the God you serve or the God that you know of is the creator of all powerful, all knowing, and omnipotent? Anybody else? Talk to me, people. Talk to me. Let's have a discussion. I just want to have an understanding. This is the conversation. You guys you don't have to just sit here and let me run my mouth. I'm reading your comments. I'm reading your notes. Tell me, is the God you serve the creator of all omnipotent, all powerful, and all knowing and omnipotent? Citizen M says, don't know. I'm no religion. Maddox says, the one I was taught. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's go with that. Nah, Maddox is cool. Maddox, thank you though. I appreciate that, brother. Let's go with this. So, if he's all knowing and he's the creator of all, so you must admit to, by your own admission, that God created good and evil. Nobody wants to contest to that. The God you serve, if he is the creator of all, he created good and evil. Evil does not exist without God. Evil does not exist without God. Because supposedly, the evil one is Satan. The evil one is Lucifer. Who was Lucifer? In the Christian religion, who was Lucifer? Was he a fallen angel of God? Was he a fallen angel before he fell to the earth, before he fell to hell? Who created Lucifer? Who allowed Lucifer to exist? Because here's the thing. If I'm God and I create all of these supernatural beings and I created the earth, and because I'm all knowing, I know that I'm going to have an angel that's close to me to be jealous of me. And I know I'm going to make... Does that make any sense to you? If I already know what's going to occur, if I already know what's going to happen, then why would I allow it to happen? And then at the end, let's fast forward. Why in the hell will I allow slavery? Why in the hell will I allow mass shootings? Why in the hell will I allow a whole entire continent like Africa to suffer by the hands of white supremacy? Why? Now tell me, does any of that make sense to you? Does any of that make sense to you? And before you answer, go ahead. Go ahead and answer. But let me say this too. If you accepted the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, to be your sounding board in salvation, so on the day of his coming, the second time, for you to be lifted and elevated and ascend to the heavens, why in the hell will your oppressors give you a book to save you? Or was it a form of manipulation for your ass to keep working and not rebel and keep working those plantation fields? Holler at your boy. I'm just asking a question. See, these are things we don't really think about. These are things that we really don't ask. We have our mothers and fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers, and they just believe with their whole entire heart. And then you would say, Granny, why? Because he's a good God. He's a good God. The reason why I can say this so freely The reason why I can say this so freely, because I believe in a universal God and that he has no take in human affairs. That somebody will, well, you know, he did give us free will. Take away the Bible, nigga. Take away the Bible. Excuse my language. When was the Bible first thought of? When was the Bible first created? When was the Bible first written? Who was it given to? See, there's no information that since that the Bible that we read today, and of course there's different versions, it's been changed throughout time to essentially catch up with the vernacular and vocabulary of today's society. But even with that, people say, oh, well, you know, the first Bible was written in Hebrew. Or the first Bible that we know of is the King James Version. I don't know any African king or queen named James. Do you know any African king or queen named James? I mean, it would be a name like Mohab Behab or some sort of African name, guys. King Nasir or something. But you guys are not hearing me. You guys are not listening to what I'm putting down. Because I'm requiring you to think right now. I'm requiring you to think. And here's a problem when a lot of our people in our community stop believing in God. This is what happens. You guys put down one God and pick up another God. Goddamn. You guys put down one God and pick up another one. In the Bible, it says something like, and I'm going to get it wrong, family. In the Bible, it says something like, it would be difficult for a rich man to enter into heaven. It would be like a camel going through the eye of a needle or something like that, right? And I'm going to use these two pastors as examples, like I usually do. They're only for educational examples. Bishop T.D. Jakes and Pastor Joel Osteen. They're millionaires. There's some of you would say where there's parts of the Bible, it talks about, you know, being rich and using your... How do they get that money? Some of you like, oh man, they sold books. How do they get the money to fund their books? How do they get money to publish their books, in their CDs, in their sermon? How do they get the money? From you, tax-free. And if you don't believe what Francis Cress Welsing's saying, that white supremacy operates in all human activities, which also includes religion, then you're not understanding the full take of what I'm trying to give to you. There's racism in every facet of this world. And it's mostly targeted to highly melanated people. And what I mean highly melanated, it doesn't mean you have to be dark skinned or dark or brown skin. Because we have light skinned brothers and sisters, brown skinned brothers and sisters, and dark skinned brothers and sisters. When they figure out or when they notice that you're black, you are already living in a system of white supremacy and being under the hand of racism. Let me read some of your notes here, family. This is a two-way conversation. I see you, Maddox. Maddox says he was a fallen angel. We're talking about Lucifer. Citizen M says, make a whole lot of sense. I hope I do. Maddox also says that the book has done so much damage to my community, and indeed it's done every black community. Because here's the thing, instead of going out and building another Raleigh dorm, another Richmond, another Chicago, another New York City, all these black Wall Streets other than Tulsa that we have, but of course Tulsa We're going to add that as well. The Greenwood community. We would rather pray about it. I used to tell, when I was going to church and I was a minister in church, I used to tell people, hey guys, well, Minister Ross, I don't know X, Y, and Z. Oh man, you need to push. Push? Yeah, pray until something happens. Now I look like a fool. Now I sound like a fool because I told hundreds, if not thousands of people to push, to keep reading their word, whatever word, the Buddha teachings, the Hindu book, any book that derives from Christianity, all of them, the Mormons, whoever, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Episcopalians, okay, the Apostle Church, the Baptists, the Southern Baptists. It doesn't matter what sect, what denomination. Just pray. Just read your word and pray. Read your word and pray and fast. Read your word, fast and pray. Pray, fast, read your word. And unfortunately, a lot of those brothers and sisters are doing that exact same thing 10 years later. Family, the number one reason why our community are in the condition that we're in, a lot of people will say, it's because of you guys. You guys need to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. How did it start? How did it start? The reason why understanding the history for me, because a lot of people say, oh, Ross, don't, you know, we understand everything that happened. Why are you so much focused on the history? Because I don't want it to happen again. When people find out how avalanches happen, that first it started off as a snowball, and it continues to roll and it becomes a larger snowball, and then it erupts the rest of the mountain, and then all these other large sums and pieces of snow come down the mountain and wipes out everything, is the same way that white supremacy does. It starts off small, it gains traction and mass, and it wipes out everything. And if you don't know your history, you're damned to repeat it. If you don't know your history, you're damned to repeat it. And we are blind by white supremacy, and a large portion of that is that they divide us by all these different topics and bull crap. Like, well, I understand you're black, but as Democrats, I understand you're black, but being part of the LGBT community, I understand that you're black, but as Christian, I understand you're black, but being a Muslim, I understand that you're black, but being a Buddhist, we're peaceful. How did the Europeans colonize Africa? It started off small. It started off small. They said they discovered when they traveled over to Africa, which they already knew where Africa was, by the way, because there was already black people in Europe, and that's how they got the information. That's beside the point. They went over there as traders, meaning trading goods and services, right? So they already knew where Africa was. They started to trade things. The Moors, aka another name for black people that they used to give us back in the day, back in the 1400s, they used to call all black people Moors. We're the ones who taught the Europeans about scents and oils and medicines and developing sewage systems and irrigation. See, the first sign of irrigation system was in Africa. The first medicines were in Africa. The first sewage was in Africa, because Europeans used to shit piss right there in their homes and let shit and piss run through the streets. Just look it up. Know your history. See, world history is African history. Can I say that again? Stay with me. World history is African history. And for those Native Black Americans that were here before 1526 and 1619, what you need to understand is if the first life was in Africa and the first people were Black Africans, then you have to understand what I'm talking about. See, the two topics that nobody wants to talk about is politics and religion. Those are the two topics that I want to talk about because it takes your mind, it takes your eyes off of the money. Because you will believe, because you live in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment, you live in a house or a duplex or a trailer home that was built in fucking 1926. You will believe because you pay your bills and you have a car that you're doing well. Look at the other people who are non-Black. Look at their population and look at the percent of them who are doing better than the percent of Black people in America and around the world. Look at it, look at it, look at it. Just like, okay, here's another one. And I'm in here, I'm going over an hour and a half. Look at this last thing. In Australia, what do they call the Black people with curly hair? In Australia, what do they call the Black people with curly hair? They call them Aborigines, which is a white man's word, but they are the native people to the land. Where do the Aborigines live? A lot of them live in the bush. Who controls the government of Australia? Who controls the government of Australia? A lot of you are going to say, well, the Australian government. Who controls the Australian government? Europeans, mostly the British. Who controls the Canadian government? The British. Who colonized America? Who colonized Africa? Mostly the British. How did it all start? Going back to the snowball to avalanche metaphor. They started off as traders. We were trading all these different technologies, how we discovered how to tell time, when to farm crops, when to farm certain crops. All this information, we traded with them. And when they realized, because they were nations always at war with each other, France and the British and the Germans and the Danish and the Dutch, you name it, the Scottish and what's the other? Scottish, the Welsh, who else? There's another small group. But yeah, all of these groups were at war with each other. Now, in Africa, there were small little wars, but our technology we wasn't trying to increase technology in war. We were trying to advance civilizations in Africa. But see, they were already a little bit more advanced when it came to war, not war tactics, but weaponries. Here's another question. I'm going down a rabbit hole. That's okay. Did you know that the first form of metal and steel was molded and cured and created in Africa? Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Anything that I've said here this evening, do not take my word for it. Look it up. But see, this is what happens when you don't know your history. And then people of today can have you to believe that they created everything. And if you don't have time to do all the history, which you should have the time, you have time for everything else, learn about all the African and Black American inventors and all the things that we have invented and all of the inventions that essentially were stolen and all of the medical breakthroughs that we did prior to modern day medicine. Look it up. When I used to have these little powwows with friends and we used to talk about stuff, some of them didn't even know all the inventions that we had that derive from either Africa or Black people around the world. And we're not teaching our kids these things. Let me tell you something. I'm about to end this real quick. So we have our son, right? We have him in all these different sports, jiu-jitsu. After that, we're thinking about putting him in boxing. But even during this summer, right? Most kids, you have your kids just doing whatever they want to do, having a great time, while the rest of the world have their kids learning. So our son has a schedule. Every day, Monday through Saturday, he gets up. Monday through Friday, he's working on reading, writing, typing. He's reading a book. And we also have him watching documentaries because we want him to be well informed. And as he gets a little bit older, probably in the next year or so, I'm going to really start going ham on him when it comes to finances. Him about money. And you don't have to be a financial accountant, a CPA. You don't have to be none of those things. Teach them how and why to create a budget. Teach them how and why they should save and invest. Teach them the importance of having a high credit score. We have to use these systems that are in place that was created by the oppressor class in order for us to make a way for ourselves. But we still have to be a part of building our own communities. That's right, Maddox, England. A lot of these European countries was built on world domination. A lot of these nations were built on world dominations. Most of them were Europeans as well as Asians. Don't forget about the Mongolians. Don't forget about Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan, brothers. They wanted to take over the world. Hitler wasn't the first person. All of the different kings and queens of England wasn't the first person. And see, when people don't understand, something as simple as Vikings. Let's talk Vikings, right? People think Vikings are a people. Vikings are not a people. Viking is a verb. Viking means to go out and loot and plunder and kill, rob, steal, and kill. Because you say, well, what race were Vikings? They were Scottish, they were Danish, they were from all these different countries. So Viking is a word. Being a Viking, meaning that you are part of Viking, going around stealing shit that wasn't yours, taking over territories, stealing people's property. That's why anytime you see these movies and shows about Vikings, were they were in their own homeland, they're on their own continent, going to the adjacent country. They burned their houses. They killed the men unless they want them to be slaves. They raped and killed their women as well as their children. Because one thing they realized is like, hey, we got to kill the kids too, because the kids will soon become adults and then they will revolt against us. But see, they did it different with us. What they did was they got our minds. See, here's the thing. When you are under captivity and I threaten your life and or your family's life, you're bound to do anything. You're pretty much to do anything I tell you. But soon as you're released from bondage, right, you're going to go and do your own thing. But if I control your mind, if I can trick and manipulate you and your people, I don't have to have you in physical bondage, because mental bondage is the most powerful bondage that any group of people could ever be in. Because I just don't control your body, I control your very essence. If I can control your mind to where you feel as though that you can't even breathe without me saying so, then you'll be going to Tulsa, Oklahoma dancing instead of giving those people reparations. If I can control your mind instead of if I can control your mind instead of you guys forming a pact of being black first, then I know that you as a cohesive group, as a unified nation of blacks, I know that you guys will not go out and rebel. Because I'll hear people, I'll be in other, chat rooms and Clubhouse, and I'll hear people say all of these statements that soon as they turn off their camera, as soon as they go back to their television show, they're not going to do fucking nothing. You're not going to do nothing. Oh, yeah, man, we should all be together, man. We should be fighting for what's ours. All right, that's over. Let me go back to my show. Here's the thing. We need to first understand that we don't have the resources to rebel because the oppressor class made it so. We don't have enough people in skilled positions to rebel. The oppressor class made it so. If I name all the things that we need, and I'll definitely miss a lot of stuff, but you may know onesies and twosies. Does anybody know any black people who make bullets, who make bullet casings, who make guns, who create the parts for guns, who grow their own food enough to feed a nation of 40 million people? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the supply lines? Do we have the skills and weaponry? Do we have all these people in the right place in case we need to form together and fight? We do not. We do not. We don't have the knowledge, nor the wisdom, nor the skill and or experience to build any form of revolution in our current state. Do we have thousands of black people in IT to create computers, to create software, to write code? Even though the first form of a microphone was built by black people, the first microphone was built by black people, even though the first home security system was built by a black lady in New York, Marion Van Brown. She invented the first home security system. But do we have hundreds? Do we have thousands of us in those skill sets, in those industries, that if we say, hey, listen, we want reparations or else? When those Europeans went over to Africa, let's just call them modern day Vikings, because that's what they did, right? They plundered and plundered Africa. That's the whole term of blood diamonds and all. That's not even blood diamonds, blood jewels. They have stripped and they are still stripping Africa of all the riches of gems and diamonds and sapphires and rubies and jade and all sorts of different materials that you need to even create a cell phone. Africa is the richest nation on earth. The Europeans somewhat poured out of Africa, not all the way, because if you guys are not aware, France still is in control of a lot of the islands that belong to the continent of Africa. They still own those islands, the French. Look it up. Look up Madagascar. Look at all those beautiful African islands that when you go and look at the people, what happened? So even if we form an alliance, even if we are part of the movement of Pan-Africanism, who is now invading and controlling the economics of Africa? Who is controlling the resources? At the current state, allegedly, is the Chinese. I just want you guys to think about the things that I said here this evening. The reason why I like these Cigar Talks, family, so we can just have a discussion about everything relating to economics and finance, but at the same time, I think this is a great way that we can exchange information. Because the first thing I'll tell you is that I don't know it all. I don't know it all. I read every now and again. I don't read as much as I should. But the more I read, the more I ask myself why. Then I ask myself, what are you doing? Right? You know, a buddy of mine told me that, and I won't say his name because I love that brother, but at the same time, he said something to me that disturbed me for a millisecond. It didn't disturb me for a long time. I like, he said, what are you doing except talking on the internet? And what I had to tell him is that in any movement, everybody has their own job. You have educators, you have teachers, you have spokespersons, you have people who deal in logistics. Then you have your foot soldiers. You have essentially, look at it as an army. When an army deploys, when Marines deploy, when naval people deploy, not everybody is a gunman. Not everybody is a rifleman. Not everybody. Everybody will be in combat but never see conflict. See, you go and you get deployed to Iraq or you get deployed to Afghanistan. Yeah, you're in the war zone, but you're not shooting your weapon. Because what you're doing, you're making runs back and forth to what we call essentially the atonement area, the gathering area, where we have all the supplies and all the non-essential combat people. And they're there to support the soldiers. And even during that time, we still have trainers. We still have instructors so you can sharpen your skills. So everybody can't be a warrior. Everybody can't be a fighter. Everybody can't be a soldier. Everybody can't be a navalman or airman. Or we need people in every facet. But anyway, this is the conversation me and my buddy had, and we have to know and see this like any other military force in the world. You have those people who map out and plan the strategics of how to go about accomplishing a goal. You give those marching orders to the soldiers. And most likely is usually who? The younger people. When you start getting into your 40s and 50s, You transgress into another job. You may have been a warrior when you was in your teens, 20s, and 30s. But when you start getting to your 40s and 50s, you start to become sergeants and commanders. You become leaders. And let me go 360. I'm gonna make this last point. I said something about back in a couple of years ago, I said that the Black community needs a leader. And I was absolutely wrong. That is the problem with us. We're always looking for a person to lead us. What we need is a plan. The plan is the leader. The agenda is the leader. The task list is the leader. Because if you go with a plan or an agenda, it doesn't matter who is alive and who got killed. The agenda and the plan still lives on. It's like a wheel. When I die, go by the wheel. Use this plan. Use this for the strategic of attacking this particular point. Family, we have an agenda. We have a plan. But before we can execute that plan, you have your own personal part. And the first thing you must know is that white supremacy exists, first of all. Secondly, you have to know a piece of your history. And then thirdly, what can you do to help build the community? Stop being divided by silly, stupid, political and religion talking points. It does nothing for the community. It does nothing for the economics of our people. Do your part.